If I had just one lesson to give to everyone on the planet, it's to accept criticism and listen to critique. A designer's mantra is to fail faster so that you know what not to do sooner. But if you don't recognize that what you've done before is, in fact, failure, then there's no actionable information to work with. So if the number one lesson is fail faster, then the number two lesson is recognize what's failure. Critique is the core concept of providing or receiving constructive feedback on any work. So we're going to talk about both parts of that, giving and receiving critique, and the important parts of each. Let's talk about giving critique first. First and foremost, when providing critique, focus on the problem with the work. Let's dissect what that means. First, focus on the problem. When you're providing feedback to someone, envision that you are that piece of work's user as if the product is finished. Naturally, especially if the piece of work isn't complete yet, there's a temptation to hold back when it comes to talking about the problems. Do not do that. Share your thoughts about what the problem or problems are. It doesn't help the person receiving feedback if all you have to say about it is, it's good or it's bad. Also, on the topic of discussing the problems, focus on those problems, not potential solutions. The creator is the master of their creation, and thus they know how to best fix any issues. What they need from you as the critiquer is to clue them in on what those issues are. For example, if you find yourself thinking something such as, I wish this car racing game felt faster, you may be tempted to tell the creator to create an effect on the screen that makes the cars move faster. This is a potential solution, but it does not get at the heart of the problem. The problem here is that the game feels too slow. Share that with the creator and they will decide how to fix that problem. So back to the original sentence. Focus on the problem with the work. Let's look at the with the work part. You want to ensure when critiquing that you're not throwing jabs at the creator. You're not critiquing the person who made the thing, you're critiquing the thing. Make sure the person whose work you're critiquing knows that it's their work that you'd like to improve, not the person themselves. Not only is it rare to change the way people behave, but it's also generally unethical to do so. Your job when providing feedback is ultimately to make the product as awesome as it can be, even though you're not the creator. That's a privilege. Leave the rest to the creator. A strategy I like to employ with critique is the compliment sandwich, where you give one piece of positive feedback, one piece of feedback on potential improvement, and another piece of positive feedback. Ultimately, the feedback on what can be improved is the most important part, so that the product can actually be improved upon in some actionable way. The positive feedback is reinforcement that the creator is doing good work and should keep doing so. Now, on to the topic of receiving feedback. I would argue that receiving feedback properly is even more important than giving feedback. Keep in mind, the reason people give feedback in the first place is so that the one receiving feedback can improve. Never forget that. Ultimately, the people giving feedback are there to help you. As I mentioned when giving feedback, you should focus on critiquing the work, not the person. Therefore, as the creator receiving feedback, if you are ever critiqued as a person, defend yourself. It's a critique, not a roast. Don't let people insult you. Critiquing you personally is effectively like saying, I don't care about your time. However, if it's your work being critiqued, do not defend your work. Your work is not perfect. You wouldn't be seeking out feedback if your work was perfect. When someone says something critical about your work, consider the possibility that they could be right. Let them find problems and point them out for you. They are doing you a service in doing so. Try to have your critiquer think aloud. I always appreciate when board game players describe what they're doing on their turn as they're doing it. It permits other players to verify that their moves are legal, and other players can easily follow along. Use that same technique for critique. Have your users say what they're thinking aloud. And finally, say goodbye to your ego. Your ego cannot be precious. You will say goodbye to some of your personal favorite work because it just does not work for the thing you're creating. As a corollary, find opportunities to receive critique. Welcome critique as frequently as you can. Listen, don't talk, for as long as you can. Take as many notes as you can, and ask as many questions as you can. The more you receive critique, the more your work will improve. I can't necessarily say the feedback won't sting. It probably will, but it's absolutely essential. What's also essential is that you have a great day.